Welcome back again to our continuing discussion about football in general. Today we're here with Just Patty B and Dave. We're going to discuss a little bit about what football is, both here in the UK and US.
Hello.
So, from your standpoint, gentlemen, why is football so serious of a sport?
I personally don't take it that seriously, but I do know a lot of people who
I do.
do.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that digresses into other sports as well. It's not just football that's so intense.
Yeah.
You know, ice hockey, rugby. I think what I think football is it's the fans that make it. The intensity of the fans is, I think, quite unique. In England, it's probably because England's quite a small country, so there's a lot of clubs close to each other, and a lot of parts of the country have rivalries anyway. You have the north-south divide, and then you got like probably 6 or 7 teams in London. So in the parts of London they don't like each other, things like that. It makes intensity, and football I think it always has been a sport of the people. The average man in the street can relate to football because it's very easy to understand. Anyone can play it, not to the best standards, but I think it's such a simple game, and the emotion. When you as a rule, you tend to, well, you should. I always think anyway, stay with the same club for life. I don't understand these people who change clubs because one's more successful and you move on to another one. Yeah, you can have a second team for another country, favourite team maybe. Personally, my family was always been United fans. My granddad, my dad, my brother, my daughter's a United fan. That's just, and my 2 grandsons have got United kits, and it just goes on from there. It'll just carry on. So it becomes a way of life. You look forward to the football. It always used to be Saturday 3 o'clock, but nowadays with TV and everything, it could be any day of the week. But you look forward to that. You check the fixture list, put a bet on. It's a great escapism.
So, for someone who doesn't know a lot about football, can you explain to us a little bit about what standing sections are and why we don't have them?
Standing sections, they just started to bring them back.
that was more just because the fans have gotten to the point where it's kind of a bit more. They want to stand and watch the game because they want to be able to enjoy a game. And for me, who's someone who's 6'3", the seating is just terrible. I would rather stand than have my legs crammed in, even worse than what it would be if I travel by plane.
I think a lot of the call for standing stadia is because of the lack of atmosphere in grounds. I know Glasgow Celtic reintroduced it in one of their stands last year. You get more people crowded together, you're going to get a lot more singing. I know Old Trafford had singing sections, but you're always going to get, say, for example, you had a section with 50 seats in it. 30 of that section will be standing up anyway, singing, shouting abuse, whatever. Pay your money, say what you think, fair enough. The other 20 want to sit down and have a hot dog, whatever. Fair play. But to me, they should be in a separate part of the stadium.
Yeah.
The Stretford end, I know they are introducing it, I believe, like they have in Germany, standing sections.
Yeah.
It all started, again, going back to Liverpool after Hillsborough. Margaret Thatcher, I think, was in charge, and she just completely, rightly or wrongly,
the Iron Lady as she was.
Yeah, she just, football hooliganism was one of her targets, and she was advised. I can't remember the name of the fella. Some lord is get rid of these big ends, like the Leppings Lane end, like the Cop at Liverpool. Old Stretford and Old Trafford, obviously. Chelsea had the Shed, City had the Kippax. It goes on and on. But the idea was make it more family environment,
Mm.
so you could take your family, children, safely to and when they're in the ground, they're safe. But it still kicks off outside, so person. And then what they do then, they'll charge you more for a top seat rather than for standing.
So you mentioned hooliganism there just a second ago. What would you describe as a couple of give me one of the worst events that was caused by football hooliganism?
I'd say, well, if certain clubs, if they draw each other in the FA Cup, rioting wise, probably Chelsea, Millwall, West Ham. They had a big riots a few years ago.
For me, I'd say that football hooliganism was more about the everyday. It was you just knew if United was playing City, if United was playing Liverpool, that the fans from each team would meet up just to have a fisticuff match and just to have fights just because the football teams were playing. That was a very common occurrence in the 80s. It still happens now, just it's not as common. It's just
nowhere near more away from the grounds now.
Well, it has to be
because of the
policing. The policing's just gotten so much because of things like that. So
well, nowadays you'll get banning orders and jailed.
Yeah.
Whereas in the old days, like I said before, you'll get a whack on the head, chuck you in the back of the van. Blue Marais used to call them Black Marais.
Would there be a certain set of hooligans in the UK that are the worst?
Oh, personally, I'd say Millwall.
Personally, I'd say Leeds.
Oh, there you go. You have it.
But each club has its own.
Well, every club has its own minority group, but for me, the section of Leeds, I think we would both agree that Millwall are probably more violent because of the area, but Leeds have a bigger following, so they're more of a danger, especially with them being in the Premier League this coming season.
Yeah, because they're all big Yorkshire lumps, aren't they? So, but they do tend to fight rather than
football. There's a new kit that's done up every year. Can you tell us a little bit about what a kit is and why is it we have to pay so much for them every year?
Well, for me, it comes down to around the world. If I look at other teams and other games, not games, I mean sport, the pricing is pretty much set. Like if you wanted an ice hockey jersey, you're going to paying more, but that's because they have hand-stitched objects on the actual jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it comes to a kit like this, you have the logo, which is not hand-stitched on, but it's stitched on. But these are, that's stitched on, but this is a transfer. The name would be a transfer. So you look at that and you're looking at probably 60 quid for a shirt with a transfer, just for the shirt, every year when a new one comes out. And that's more or less dictated by the label. So this one's Adidas.
It used to be every 2 years, isn't it? Until not long ago, now it's every year. Yeah. Now we have 3 kits.
Well, you need to have the third alternate because of European football.
Yeah.
So you'll find teams that
I don't think they should be the same price as a red one.
I don't know. I think as I've kind of got to it, I don't buy a shirt every year. I'll buy a shirt.
I buy shirts anyway.
I'll buy a shirt every other year, or every 3 years, or whenever I need to get a new one because it doesn't fit me.
You don't have to pay that, but you can go to certain stores and it'll be, if you bought that in the mega store, Old Trafford, it'll be more expensive than buying the same shirt.
Yeah, this was 65 quid. Yeah, from the mega store. But I know you could go to JD Sports and pick it up for 40 quid. Maybe not the same size because obviously I'm a bigger lad. But if I was to get a large, it would be 40, 45 quid. But it depends on what deal they have on with the company that
obviously the sponsors, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the sponsors that dictate it. Because you got to remember that the sponsors take a percentage for every shirt that's sold. Oh. So United put a markup on it on their own mega store so they get more money.
Which is why they do these pre-season tours of countries like Asia and the US, which is a growing market, because they know people in China or wherever will buy shirts by the bucketful. I only gripe with the United one, I won't buy anything until they put football club back on the badge. And it was the Glazers who took it off.
Oh, fair enough.
That's just me being pedantic, but I don't know how they can.
It's
now a logo.
Did it say FC here?
It used to say Manchester United Football Club.
Oh, okay.
If you've got an old badge anywhere,
I don't, unfortunately, not in this
Yeah.
room.
the old Manchester United Football Club, the crest.
I didn't know that.
Because that to me is a brand. That's what the Glazers, the Americans, wanted. That's just like McDonald's to me.
Would you say that money has changed football over the years?
No, of course. I mean,
you just said it. You just literally gave the example of the Glazers come in and do the
don't get me started on them.
making it a brand instead of a
Well,
football
they
club.
bought the club. They bought the club. They took out loans to buy the club. So whatever money we make, a lot of it is to pay loan, millions and millions of pounds of loan. I think it's scandalous and it shouldn't have been allowed. Personally, yeah. What was the question? The first bit.
How has money changed?
Oh yeah, I was
football?
going to mention Sky Sports. Sky Sports. I mean, which is other beef of mine. Sky Sports invented the Premier League, basically, which started in '93, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Leeds were the last winners of the old Football League in '92, if I'm right. United were the first winners of the Premier League in '93. And I remember going to the first ever Premier League United game, which was the first Premier League game live on Sky. Sheffield United away. This big new beginning. Sky Sports, blah, blah, nonsense. Got there, exactly the same. The way end was a disgrace. Toilets didn't work. There was no change at all. And we were led to believe it was this. What happened is they poured the money into it. And obviously that's where they get all the money for the wages from. But when you watch Sky Sports, not so much BT Sports, they word things and it really annoys me. They'll say things like, well, this guy's just scored the most goals in the Premier League history. And you think, well, what about the 80 years before that?
Yeah.
Which was it? The Premier League is basically the old First Division.
Yeah.
The Championship is the Second Division, and so on down the leagues. But they word it, and it really annoys me.
BT Sports do the same thing. However, they will add the old stats into their.
Well, they might as well say, well, Leeds never won the league. The way they talk.
Well, I think we both agree that you could just do that anyway. We don't like Leeds.
The way they talk as if there was no football before '92. Sorry, '93.
But
it's nonsense.
That's the Murdoch way. They take over. They basically build a brand and take over.
They play with the stats that come up. Like United fans say, we won the Premier League 9 times. Liverpool never won it. It's the same thing. To me, it's nonsense. It's a nonsense argument.
Yeah.
We've won it 20, they've won it 19. You can't just. They won it this year. You can't just. The other 18 out of the way.
No.
It's there. Look, yeah. So what? They've won the Premier League.
No, but you
once.
still say it because it still annoys.
It does. Well, that's just childish to me. It's like the European Cup. It's the Champions League, but it's the European Cup. The Cup is exactly the same, and the same sort of nonsense they talk on TV. Champions League, it's the European Cup final.
So would you be saying that money hasn't really changed football, or?
Oh, it's definitely changed.
But it's changed it only on the salary level. It's not really changed it on the
stadiums, because these all stadiums. They all look the same to me now. They're all just big bowls, aren't they? Which is built. I mean, you look at teams that come up. Aston Villa spent £100 million this season. They came up £100 million, and they just squeaked relegation out of the way on the last day of the season. Norwich didn't spend hardly anything. They went straight back down.
Yeah.
Money talks, but you've got to spend it wisely.
Absolutely.
Because I know they get an umbrella payment, so when they go down, they'll get
that's
X amount
just
of money.
pure and simply to stop them going bankrupt from having the money going in a different.
Yeah, it's the salaries of players doesn't bother me. A lot of people get upset by that, but
I think what bothers me is more the transfer fee. The salaries doesn't, but the transfer fees do. The whole idea behind it having to pay 50-60 million. However, I will put this. So what? If a player costs 80 million, but he's going to improve your team and you have the money to pay it, just pay it.
It's any sport, isn't it?
Well, no, it isn't, because there's
there's
sports around the world that doesn't rely on this transfer fee. Other sports around the world actually have salary caps.
So
And that's
NFL,
more than
NFL,
America.
NFL.
Like NFL, NBA, NHL all have salary caps.
That kind of brings us into our next topic where we talk a little bit about the U.S. Would
Yeah.
you say that the U.S. has a problem competing with the rest of the world?
Yes,
Football wise, yeah, definitely.
absolutely, and that
The
is pretty
strange
much
thing there. Men's football, I think, is the problem. If you, without getting sexist about it, there's a lot more sports for men in America that are more interest to a young lad. Whereas here, there isn't. For example, I would have thought the average American boy would rather be in the NFL, basketball, baseball. I would have thought than football, soccer.
Yeah.
Whereas over here,
it's two.
it's well, there is rugby if you
But
live down south.
they're the only two,
Cricket.
I suppose.
Cricket's quite a big sport, but it's a bit elitist.
Yeah.
You know, the average lad, the whole how football is over here when you're young and in America, completely different. Like here, you just go to a lads club, play football. If you're good enough, you get spotted by a scout, you'll get picked. In America, they have this college system where I agree with it quite a lot of the way because they get an education with it, get scholarship and stuff like that. But
There's a lot of things wrong with it, but that's more because the Americans have really good systems, but they like to be corrupt with them. So they'll allow people to buy their way into things rather than actually earn it. But the actual systems they have there are good.
It's no coincidence, I don't think, that the women's American team is brilliant. I think they've won the World Cup 4 times.
Yes. I think more
And
actually.
yourself why is because there's less sports for young American girls.
Mm-hmm. Well, realistically, it's either you're an athlete, so you're a runner, you're a gymnast, or you're a footballer.
Or if you're a tennis player, golfer.
Yeah.
But I know American.
See, for me, the male international team doesn't compete pure and simply because they have an ego about them. If you haven't been able to play any other sport, so if you haven't got into basketball or American football, every footballer or soccer player that decides to play it usually comes with a bit of, oh, I'm the dog's bollocks, when they're not. Their level is probably League One.
You can struggle to name.
I know one, but I can't say his name. He's American, but he has a Polish name. Plays for Chelsea.
Yeah, just saying.
Poslichnich or something like that. I can't say his name. He's American.
Yeah.
And before that, you had Landon Donovan. Yeah, Perisic.
There's been a few. Like you say, you'd struggle to pick an 11.
So, in general, the U.S. has ESPN, that kind of stuff on the telly. Would you say that the U.S. is a better service for watching Premier League than we do?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, but because of the way the BBC has the rule of the roost with Match of the Day, we are not allowed to watch any 3 p.m. game. We can't watch them live. But you're legally streaming it. But where are you streaming it from? NBC Sport. If you're in America, you can pay for NBC Sport and watch every game live.
I just pick up the first. I think I was watching it with Pakistani commentary a few weeks ago.
But why
you just bang it onto your TV?
But why is our own country and our own freaking football being hogtied into not being allowed to watch the 3? Because of the BBC.
Gary Lineker, that's another story. Yeah, so American clearly has the.
I mean, it might cost more, but at least it's an option. Like, I'm sick and tired of having to pay for Sky Sports, BT Sports, God. And then still not being able to watch my team play.
Amazon now.
But I don't mind Amazon taking it as long as we get more games. But there's still those 3 p.m. games we don't get to watch because Match of the Day has the rights for them.
Yeah.
Well, hold on a minute. Match of the Day can still be its own thing, but at least
because they want you to watch Match of the Day because either, like in the old days, you didn't know the score.
Yeah.
But nowadays, the score's instant on your phone anyway. Yeah. You know. I don't know why else would you watch Match of the Day because there's other games you want to catch up on. It's antiquated, really. Like you say, if you want to watch any game, you should be able to watch it if you pay for it without streaming it.
So to kind of wrap things up a little bit, would you say that the overall football quality is better now, or when was it better?
So the quality of football. So
well, again, you're talking money. So since the introduction of
I'm not
the
really.
Premier League, I'd say that what happens then, you get players from abroad piling in, which are on the whole will certainly improve the game. You know, most of the best players, they're foreigners, aren't they? It's great. I think it's great, but I do think you should have a balance. I know they tried to keep it. You have to have a certain amount of English players in your side, but a lot of them just aren't good enough.
So would you say that football is better now than it's ever been, or
Well, yeah. Again, you look at players in the past, legends of the game. How much would George Best be worth in today's market?
well, how much would George Best be playing compared to what he
They
did?
play every game.
But then
Because of the
equally,
pitches,
would he have had much of
better
an
football
alcohol problem?
boots. No,
Because in this day and age, it's a bit more of a different
he
culture.
wouldn't, because they have to get tested, don't they? So it'd be.
Not really for alcohol, but there is
He wouldn't.
much
I
more
don't
of
think
a.
he'd be able to cope. Well,
There's much more controls there. But
Yeah.
I personally think that football went through its major period of the best football we've seen, and that was when Messi and Ronaldo were at their peak. They're starting to trail off a bit,
Oh, it's
only a bit.
unbelievable
They're
level.
still unbelievable.
Ronaldo's
But
such an athlete.
I would say the best football we had was probably between 2010 to about 2016, where you had Barcelona at their best, Real Madrid at their best, and now we have Liverpool as the top dog. But it's like
Liverpool are now where City were 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and they'll get sussed out after saying that.
to be honest, I think they got sussed out towards the end of the
They did.
season, even though they won the
waver
league.
off a bit.
But I think
I
there's
don't. I mean, obviously,
they're a
I think
fantastic
they
team.
had that
but
thing that United had, and all great teams have. When teams come out to play them, who've already lost.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, I don't think. You look at some of the teams in the Premier League, and they're average at best. You
Yeah.
know they're going to get beat, home and away against the top. They should get beat by the top 4 teams. They know when they play City away, they're going to get 5, 6 put past them. So they turn up with 10-man defence and they get slated for it. What else are they going to do?
Yeah.
Norwich aren't going to come to the City's ground and take them on. They'll pass them to death.
Yeah.
Even they lose 10-0. You can't blame them for trying to snatch a point. And every now and again, they will do it. Fair play to them, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you liked our video, give us a like and smash that subscribe button. For more videos, click to the left. Bye.